So welcome everybody. My name is Sylvia and I represent the World that Reconnects network. Thank you for joining us today for the Webinars and Conversation Cafe series, where we are offering a wide range of rich educational and supportive opportunities for our global community of World that Reconnects facilitators, members, and friends of the network. Our intention is to strengthen the web of the World that Reconnects community while continually reaching beyond our current edges to weave deeper connections with others who are contributing to the great turning in diverse and complementary ways. Today, we are going to have the first session of the Elm Dance with Kathleen. We have Kathleen Root today, and we will have another Elm Dance tomorrow with Frida. And now I'm going to leave you with Kathleen.
Thank you, Sylvia, and welcome everyone. It's really wonderful to see familiar faces and those who are new to me, and in particular, so happy that Joanna Macy is here with us. And hi, Lydia, I see you there as well, and that your beautiful forest. And Joanna is going to be joining me later in helping to tell the story of the people of Novozhivkov. And I realized that, so first of all, I'm Kathleen Rood. I am a longtime facilitator of the Work That Reconnects. I'm also on the Weavers team for the Work That Reconnects network that is bringing this event to you today. And a longtime dancer of the Elm Dance. We are, this whole idea for doing a global Elm Dance came about in a dream of one of our network members, having this vision of people dancing the Elm Dance all around the world. And then Frida, who will be facilitating this tomorrow, had a very similar dream. And so we brought this together rather quickly because the time is now, right, for us to be coming together in community to focus our intention for how we can continue to be open to what breaks our heart and to be present to the role that we're playing in the great turning, and as well as how can we hold hands with each other virtually and in person to be able to face the great unraveling that is happening at the same time as the great turning. So you know that we are coming together at a time of great concern. I mean, the war in Ukraine is just the most recent of the wars that are going on around the world. We are seeing record numbers of refugees from so many countries, refugees of war, refugees of climate crisis, refugees of economic crisis. We are in the midst of climate collapse. And so there's so much that's on our hearts that are breaking our hearts wide open. And so as we do in this Work That Reconnects, the Elm Dance has been a staple of in-person workshops since I first started working with Joanna many years ago. And I've been so grateful to have danced it so many times with you and with others here and across the ocean. So we're coming, and I also realize that there are probably many of you on this call who have never done the Elm Dance or may have only done it online as well. So we welcome those who have done this in person and those who are, this is new to you. We're going to be doing this together either, and I know that there's some people who have gathered groups together now, so be able to dance it now together. And there's some of us like me we're going to be dancing this alone in our space, but connected to each other. So I want to welcome everyone here for this, the first of our global Elm Dance offerings. So I'd like to also to set the stage, so to speak, and talk to the larger issue, the Elm Dance. And the reason why Joanna has been bringing it forward in workshops has its origin in the nuclear disaster that took place in Chernobyl back in 1986, April 26th, when technicians there at the nuclear power plant were doing an experimental shutdown of the reactor, and the core exploded and sending radioactive particles all over. The winds took this radiation over Europe and then back into Russia. It was at that time the worst nuclear disaster that we had experienced. And it rained down radioactive materials over a large swath of area. The peoples who went in initially to try and put out the fire, all of them suffered severe death or soon after, or suffered radiation poisoning and or cancers. There is now an exclusion zone around Chernobyl. The area was evacuated. The reactor is still continuing to melt down. It has been covered over once with concrete to try and contain the radioactive materials. That has degraded. They have now put a second sarcophagus, huge sarcophagus over this reactor. But the radiation from this stays for virtually forever. Some of the most toxic parts of radioactive materials will stay deadly for 240,000 years. And so this has been impacting people in that region and will continue for literally as long as we can imagine. And so now, because of climate change, the area has become drier around Chernobyl. They have been having fires. And so all the radioactivity that's been absorbed into the trees and the plants is also now being released into the air. And the most recent disruption there at Chernobyl is in fact the Russian invasion of Ukraine and troops moving through the area, stirring up the dust. But also, I'd like to take this moment before we talk about the specifics of Novozybkov to share with everybody here just how what happened at Chernobyl could happen at any nuclear power plant anywhere in the world. The ones that are now in Ukraine are under threat because of possible artillery bombs hitting any one of their nuclear power plants could create another huge catastrophe. But the other important thing to know is that if power is suspended, if it's suspended at a nuclear power plant for any amount of time, the material in the nuclear power plant itself can overheat and catch fire, explode, as it did at Chernobyl, also in Fukushima in Japan. But also too, the spent fuel for any nuclear reactor is so hot when it comes out of the core that it needs to be kept in cold water, submerged in cold water for 3 to 5 years minimum before it's even safe enough to try and move it into some other kind of lead-lined container. And so nuclear power plants everywhere require constant electricity coming into them to keep them from exploding. Okay, so any kind of disruption to the power grid, to a nuclear power plant, again, can create the potential for nuclear disaster. So it's vitally important that I feel that we understand this as people who are also very concerned about climate change, where we have people talking about nuclear being an answer to climate change. It is the most dangerous thing that humans have ever created. And Joanna, you taught me that many years ago. And that it continues, every nuclear power plant is a potential nuclear bomb. And so I'd like us to hold that also in our awareness now as we go forward, both with our awareness of what's happening, the war in Ukraine now, and with nuclear power plants all around the world. Fukushima is still melting down. It's not contained in any way. This is the most dangerous materials we've ever created, and we don't know how to safely deal with any of the waste that will be deadly for 240,000 years. We still don't know what to do with it. So that's a lot, but it's also, I think, really important, especially for younger generations where nuclear power hasn't really been talked about, that we have at least some understanding of the danger that they pose. It's the most ridiculous way to boil water that I can think of. So, so with that, we come back to Chernobyl and the origin here of the Elm Dance. So let's, what happened in Chernobyl when it exploded, and all this radioactivity was up in the air and it was traveling over Europe. The winds changed and the radioactive cloud was starting to move to, and it was going toward Moscow. And the Soviet government at the time made the decision to seed the clouds over the rural areas west of Moscow. And so seed the cloud, so it forced all of the radioactivity to rain down on the people in the more rural areas. And actually, Sylvia, if we could show, sorry, the map of Chernobyl and Novozhivkov and Moscow. Just give people a perspective. Oh, so I did, yeah, so I did have here just to show people. Here are the different nuclear power plants in Ukraine. Chernobyl is up at the top in that purple exclusion zone. And so you can see the other nuclear power plants that are at risk at the moment. Great, thanks. And so let's, and I know I told you I'm switching our orders, sorry, thank you. So here down in the lower corner is Chernobyl. And so when the Soviet government seeded the clouds, it had all of this radioactivity raining down. Novozhivkov is here in this area, all around here before it got to Moscow. And they did not inform the people that this is what they did. So people were coming out, seeing this crazy kind of white rain coming down. Children were out playing in it. It sort of looked like snow. And they were never told that what was raining down on them was going to kill them and cause long-term health effects. Great, thank you, Sylvia. And so Joanna came 5-6 years later with her then her late husband Fran, traveling around to the areas that have been impacted by Chernobyl, and people at this point were experiencing cancers, radiation sickness, down the road, horrible birth defects that continue to this day, all kinds of heart issues and thyroid cancers. It's the impact on the peoples has been really horrible. And she brought the Elm Dance with her. And so let's just talk a little bit about the Elm Dance itself, and then we'll get into the actual story of Novozhivkov. So the Elm Dance, the music for the Elm Dance is a Latvian song. And if we could have the lyrics up, Sylvia. And I apologize, the songwriter and performer, I do not know how to pronounce her name. I tried to find something online that would help me to be able to pronounce it, and I don't, so I'm not going to try. But this was a song that was very popular at the time of the when the Latvian people were seeking to be free of Soviet rule, and there's double meaning in the lyrics, but this became it was a rallying cry for that revolution. So what will you give to me, mother, for living forever? The little golden apple tree will bloom and ring out like morning mist. What will it to give to you, mother dear, that your dear son will not die? There is no answer. The grove of oak trees starts to tremble in the wind. Just the trees prepare for the autumn. There is no answer. All my jokes evaporate, all jokes fall flat. There is no answer. Only now my feet step more confidently on our own earth. That's why, friends, how it's going with me. May no one at all find out what's happening with me. So this song, as we'll hear, it's sung in Latvian. And at the time, it was a very popular song. The choreographer, Anastasia Gang, who's German, heard this song and wanted to choreograph a circle dance to it. And what she heard in the music and in the story of the song was that it carried this energy of intention, that people were coming and singing the song, and it could be a way of helping us to focus intention and wanting to bring that energy to a dance. She also was somebody who studied the energetics of Bach flower essences, and the elm tree carries that medicine of intention. And so while the song itself is singing about oak trees and apple trees, the choreography holds the energy of the elm tree. And so when we come together to dance the Elm Dance, it helps us to come together in community, to focus our intention, to be present. And then as it's been adapted, and as we'll do in very soon, it allows us then to speak out the names of those who are suffering and who are being challenged and in need of our attention. And then to be able to also speak out those things that bring us joy and have us connected to all of life. So this is the components and the pieces of the Elm Dance that then Joanna had learned this and was bringing it into the workshops that she was doing for the Russian people who have been impacted by Chernobyl. And their last stop was in the town of Novozhivkov. It was the place where the highest amount of radioactivity was registering there. And she and Fran and two Russian interpreters came there in 1992 to do the work, the Reconnects, to help people to process what had happened to them in Chernobyl. And Joanna, I'm just going to say a little bit more, and then I'm going to invite you in. That what they found was that people did not want to speak about what happened at Chernobyl, that they just called it the event. And that it wasn't something that they were ready to talk about. They wanted to do other work around building up family and dealing with good family relations, but they couldn't speak about what happened at Chernobyl. And so Joanna, I'd like to pass the torch into you now to continue the story of how the Elm Dance then helped you to break through and let these people respond.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for bringing me back to this life-changing experience and share it so beautifully. I did. I just brought. There were little cassettes. These two dances that I had learned in Germany, simply because I didn't speak Russian and or Ukrainian, and which are very, very similar. And I wanted to be able to do something without needing an interpreter, namely dancing. And the dancing, folk dances, circle dances had been very popular in this area of Russia and in the towns. What we were coming across, southern Byelorussia, and dipping down to northern border of Ukraine, but then we went across the border into Russia to Novozhivkov. This was a region called Bryansk, and it begins. This Novozhivkov was only 100 miles or so from this and from the reactor. So I was shocked. We'd worked very hard to name this workshop and give it a good Soviet sound, and they didn't want. I said, "What is this? We've come all this way, and now they want us to talk about family relations." And one of the Russians who had brought us there, and he loved these people. He was a psychologist from Moscow, but he was down within hours of the word came out about the tragedy. He was right there in the engine room with people, and then he kept going back because of what had happened to these people, that they had then been the clouds were seeded as the wind was taking the radioactivity toward Moscow, and everything just dumped down on them. And so he saved this for the end of our our trip. And so I thought, here I've come all this way and they won't talk about Chernobyl. But said, okay. And we invented and used and thought up and shook our brains and we did all kinds of things about family relations, and still no word until it was a 3-day workshop in Novozhivkov. No town was more affected than this one. And they enjoyed remembering times when they had, before the event, before the radioactivity. And we got them to remembering that in their group work. And they'd said for the first time we were smiling in 6 years, remembering how it used to be. But Saturday afternoon, we did a deep time exercise of harvesting the gifts of the ancestors. And when I was bringing them back up through time, reached the year 1986. And at that point, they stopped. I was just beginning to move in toward the top, my voiceover, the music, and they stopped. They said, "We're not going back. We're not going back to that tragedy. We're not going back to what happened at Chernobyl. We're not going back." And by the very fact that they were refusing, they named what they refused to go back too. And it all poured out with anger and tears. No, don't bring us there. Don't bring us to how it was. Remember that morning? Remember, I was standing and I waved you. They were talking to each other about all that had happened, about that hard first awful day. It was sunny, but there was a white ash falling, and then this torrential rain, and they figured out what was happening. The government never told them, the Muscovites never told them, but they figured it out. And then the illnesses. So the next morning, or at one point, yes, that evening, all of a sudden they turned on me and they said, "Look what you've done. We were having such a good time with these nice exercises and now you've made us remember. Why have you done this to us? Will our tears, or as we remember, and one woman who was the last to speak, shouting almost, she said, I have 2 little girls, and every time I look at them, I wonder what tumors are growing in their bodies. Will my tears ever save them from the tumors? Will that make any difference to the horror that has overtaken us?" And then they went home. No, but we had given them the Elm Dance, and so they wouldn't even go home until they loved. Now I need to tell you that the folk dances were big in this area of Russia and Ukraine. All the borderlands there, and but they hadn't danced since Stalin. But they were yearning for it. And so to dance the Elm Dance was something very, very solemn and important for them. And they did it with a great seriousness. And it is, as you'll hear, sort of sedate and beautiful. So they insisted that they wanted it twice a day, in the morning and at night. But I wondered if anybody would come back the last morning. They'd been angry. And that was very unusual because they were very polite and they were dressed in their very best clothes to come to this and meet these Americans and their good friend from Moscow. But in the morning, there they all were. There were 50 of them in a big circle. And I thought I'd so failed. I thought I had wrecked everything somehow. And so I said, we meeting, and the silence was electric. And I said, well, it was hard last night, wasn't it? How are you feeling today? And the woman who had spoken about her 2 daughters stood up. They all stood to speak like children do in school in Russia. And she said, oh, it was terrible. I had a terrible night. I was crying all night. And then she said, but this morning, I feel different. I feel like there's more room inside me. And I feel like it's like when we danced the trees and we reach out and we take each other's hands. That's why I'm feeling about people now that we've talked about it. So the last day together, there was such closeness between them. And they were so full of plans about what they would do. They were so much, they were so alive. And so they wanted to make copies of the cassette, of course, of the Elm Dance. And I was so in love with them by then. And I said, I will tell your story wherever I go, wherever I teach or share the work or teach a course, I will tell your story. Well, when I got home, that was our very last day of work, or place of workshop, and I stopped in Salzburg the very next week because there was the world's first uranium hearing, and I told about Novosibirsk. But what I found was that I had promised them that I would tell their story wherever I taught. But it's hard to say, with people, I've got a real depressing story to tell you, sit down. So I couldn't do that. So what I found I did was to say, hey, I've got a dance. I'll teach you a dance. And then teaching the dance allowed me to tell their story. Mm. And there was a lot of it to tell, that more than I could squeeze into those minutes. Mm. And so then the dance itself changed in a way. As people linked up, I would say, now imagine you're there, and you're taking the hands of, Igor and Svet and these Russian men and women who are building their lives in that radioactive place, and could tell it, and then it became, we built things into it. Like in the very first part, we would be feeling our solidarity, and then in the next round, we would be calling out what we were worried about, whether it was about the salmon or the acid rain, and that was a beautiful. It became an ever richer kind of experience.
Yeah.
We then began to see if people would be interested to pass the hat and gather some money to send so that they could buy some, what do you call them?
They're the meters, the radiation monitors.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Joanna, we'll send we'll send people a link to the Viola project, and if people are wanting to be able to contribute to help the people who are ongoing checking for, which they need to do is find out where the radiation is, to decide where their kids play, where they plant their crops. So we'll send that link to people.
And the new waves of radioactivity that have come in the last years, as Kathleen has mentioned, have been really fierce, laden with radioactivity. And that's because of fires brought by climate change. Mm-hmm. And because they're burning an area called the exclusion zone, which and these trees and bushes there have been full of the radioactivity from the plant, the nuclear plant. And so it's
What
been,
did I do with the feather?
And so that, and Joanna, that was another thing that I just wanted to mention before we start moving into the dance itself, was that the other piece that, remember you sharing, was what was so difficult for the people of Novozhivkov was that they were people of the forest, and that the trees absorbed so much of the radioactivity that they weren't able to go back into the forests, and their children and their children's children could not go back into the forest. And so dancing the Elm Dance was one of their ways of being in the forest and connecting, but they were never able to go back into the forest. So that's another piece that we remember as we share this Elm Dance. And so Joanna, deep bow to you. Thank you so much for sharing, for sharing the story with all of us again. And then we'll continue to be able to share the story of people of Novozhivkov and all peoples now who are being impacted by radioactivity, the impact from the uranium mining, most often on indigenous lands. There's so many people now being impacted by radioactivity from power plants and weapons. So thank you, Joanna. So let's take this time now to learn this dance and to dance it together. All right, and so I'm going to switch my camera around so that you can actually see my feet. And this is a circle. It's a circle dance. So if you are with other people, this would be wonderful to be able to, you do it holding hands. If you're doing it by yourself, you can do whatever you want with your hands, right? And it is, everything is based on a 4 count. And we always start with our right foot. Okay, so right foot always starts everything. You would be moving in a large circle because I'm going to demonstrate this for you. I'm going to dance in my own little circle here. Okay, but so the steps are very simple. We're going to start out with a sway. So you're going to sway to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the hardest part of the dance. We're going to take our right foot, but you're going to walk backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to come back to the center and sway again. 1, 2, to the right, to the left. Then you're going to take your right foot again, and now you're going to walk forward. And I'm going to walk around because I'm at the end of my screen. You're going to walk 1, 2, 3, 4, and then sway. 2, 3, 4. Now, if you're holding hands, we're going to come forward into the center. Again, right foot first. 1, 2, 3, 4. We raise our hands. If you're holding hands, now you drop them. And we're going to sway again this time. Now we're like the trees, swaying right, left, right, left. Then we're going to step back again with your right foot, right, left, right, left, and then you grab hands again, sway, right, left, right, left. So one more time, let's go over the steps. So we start with that sway, right, left, walk backwards, right, left, some back to the center, sway, right, left. Now go forward with your right foot, right, left, sway, right, left. Come into the center, right, left, left drop, hands, sway, 2, 3, 4, step back, right, left, sway, 2, 3, 4. And we just keep repeating that pattern, then you're gonna step backwards again, okay? So that's our choreography for this. We are gonna do this 3 times. Normally in workshops, we would dance the dance twice. We're gonna dance it 3 times today. So the first time, and we're going to play a video of, actually this is the last time that I danced the Elm Dance with you, Joanna. It was at Rivers Bend, California at a facilitators retreat. So you're gonna be able to see the Elm Dance as it's done. And when you have lots of people, we're doing it in concentric circles, which you'll see. The first time we dance it, we're going to be, in silence. And again, remembering the energy of the Elm Dance, it's about intention. So let the music move you. You're going to just be getting comfortable doing the steps, focusing your intention about what's on your heart today. What are you wanting to bring into this dance, be able to dance for? Okay, so we'll dance the whole dance through. Then the second time, again, everyone's going to be muted. You can speak on your own, but speak out loud. Then the second time you dance it, you're going to be naming those things, naming the people who are suffering, the beings who are being challenged and crisis, whatever is, a part of that great unraveling. Name those as you're dancing. That'll be our second round of the dance. The third round will be, then we'll be able to have an opportunity to speak about what it is that we love about this earth. What are we grateful for? What is feeding us? That will be our third round of the dance. When we're finished with the dance, then we'll have a moment of silence, and we often offer people to bow down, touch the earth, put your energies and intention into the earth. And then we'll come back into the group and have some opportunity for some sharing in the chat. Okay. And Sylvia, I want to check in with you. Have people been asking any questions? Do we need to clarify anything?
I'm putting back the gallery view so we can share the screen. So let me know when you're ready, Kathleen.
All right, let me just bring this around so I can mute myself. Okay, so someone's saying, are the steps back and forward stepping diagonally? When you're coming forward and lifting your arms, it's always straight forward and back. And when you're stepping backwards, if you were doing this on your own, you keep moving in a big circle. Okay, keep moving in the circle around to your right, like that, if you're doing it in a group. Okay. All right. And have fun with it. You'll also get a sense when you see the video. So the important thing is that you're feeling the music. And so let's just take one moment now before we start, so that we can imagine, here we are on this Zoom platform. So take a moment to center yourself and look on the screen here, and let's imagine that we're all holding hands. So that we can step into that place of our imagination, and just with your intention, imagine yourself that we're all in one big space, dancing this dance together and feeling the energy of everybody here on this call. And that we are dancing for those people of Novozhivkov, all who have been impacted by radiation, and all the others who we're dancing for today. And know that we are held with each other. And so whatever emotions are coming up for you as we do this dance, that we're doing it together in community, that you are not alone, that we are not alone. that we are connected to all things and all things are connected to us, and that we do this dance with that awareness of our connection to the living body of Earth. Okay, thank you. All right, let's, Sylvia, let's start dancing. Again, first time setting our intention.
Okay, I'll start.
Sylvia, we lost the screen share. And so now this time, offering up what you're dancing for, what's breaking your heart, those who are suffering. And now offering what it is that we love about this world, what we're grateful for, what fills us with joy and purpose and connection.
Dzīvošana, ko man dosim.
Now I invite you now to kneel down, bow down, touch the earth. And then coming back. Thank you. We have people, we're a really large group of people, so we can't really unmute and share, but if people would, if you have any reactions or anything you'd like to share in the chat, we can do that at this time. This was my first Elm Dance. I feel our collective energy with Mother Earth. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for adding the gratitude part to the dance. Lots of tears. Thank you. Graceful, comforting, challenging. So grateful to feel hope. Beautiful and touching. Joanna, so great to see you. Love your smile. Feel like holding people's hands and touching the earth. I needed that. Felt connected to all. Just a beautiful dance of togetherness and being one with earth. What a beautiful experience. Dancing for the trees. Thank you. Great to see old friends online. Thank you, Joanna. So glad to be dancing Elm Dance again. Timely. And so, Joanna, is there anything you would like to say by way of closing tonight?
I want to thank you for bringing this to us. And it felt so wonderful to be feeling it and with my stiff back, my old body, and then thinking there were so many, and it's just beautiful. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. And if this leads some of us to, we ought to be able to pass out some of these little well, that people don't use these
Cassettes.
anymore.
They could be USB drives. We could
We
just
have-
learn the song and sing it.
We have the link. We have the link to the song that we can share with people as well, so they can download it or they can learn it as well and sing it. So thank you. And we have some other. Thank you again so much, Joanna, for dancing with us tonight and sharing this with us. And thank you, Sylvia, for wonderful tech support and additional support for making this happen. And I know that we have additional offerings for the Elm Dance Week that so I'll pass that back over to you to share with people. And I'm looking for there is a link for ways to support Viola and Ludmila in working with getting the radiation monitors. And so I'll, while Sylvia's speaking, I'm going to pull that information out and share that.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Joanna. And thank you, everybody. I know that we have also had a group today dancing with us. They joined together and I saw them dancing. And we will have the same webinar, but with another facilitator, with Frida, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time for those who want to join again. We will be sharing a follow-up with many resources like Kathleen mentioned. And one of the calls that we put out to the world is dance. You know, get your community, your family, your friends, and do a big Elm Dance all around the world all this week for peace, for healing, for all the beings. And if you can take pictures or have a video, send that to us. We will love to share that to the world. So thank you all for coming today. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Is there anything else, Kathleen, or are we closing?
Yes, I posted in the chat the link on the website to get more information about how to help. And so again, thank you all so much for coming, and please keep dancing.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Again.
Long live the Elm Dance.
Long live the Elm Dance.